This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. All right. So in our last session, we were discussing about the Linux administration related part, right? So we just try to talk about some systemctl commands. So how do you deal with the systemctl? And after that, we talked about the permission related commands. And finally, we talked about so how do you work with the open ports also? How can you check from the how do you check on the server side that there are these ports are open? If like let's say end user is service, end user is complaining that so the service is not accessible. Okay, so if you get into the server, so then what are the things you need to look into? That is what we have discussed in the last session, right? So now we are going to move to the next thing, so which is so hosting some services actually, right? So but basically talking about so how the business is running in today's world, basically, right? So the business is running is cloud-based applications, isn't it? The businesses are running our cloud-based applications. Okay, so that means everything on the internet. Okay, so that's where today, so back in days, at least we used to install some softwares, but today world, actually what we're trying to do is we are actually trying to we are actually trying to host everything on the internet. Okay, and over the internet people are trying to sell the services. Even that is an enterprise organization also, they are trying to put something on the internet so that they can expand the business, basically, right? You take Microsoft, like a lot of Microsoft products are now on internet. Okay, so even though a lot of enterprise companies just though uses them, but still those guys are on internet, right? So I'm just saying, okay, so like that's how the people are actually trying to focus on, right? Today the business is basically the cloud means internet and everything over the internet, right? Isn't it as simple as that? Okay, we don't want to keep everything on the local side, so that's the idea. Okay, now when it comes to the cloud, basically what you're going to get is, end of the day, it's a web content. Okay, it's a web content, and this web content also is categorized into two things. One is UI and the other one is API. Okay, UI is nothing but the graphical interface of what you get. Like let's say I want to upload the YouTube, like let's say I upload daily a YouTube video, right? So if I want to upload a video, so then what is the thing I have to do? So I have to go to the YouTube website. Okay, and there's an option around that. Okay, so which is to upload the video. Okay, so that's what we can do. So I can just go to the studio.youtube.com. So okay, and I can upload the video just on the top. You can just click on create, so you will get an upload video option. But this is not the thing I'm doing. Okay, so this is a UI call. Okay, that's a UI you're seeing, but actually the UI is not we're preferring, so we are actually going with the API. Okay, now in the back end, so basically what I'm going to do is I am going to hit the YouTube API. I can show you the documentation here. So which is YouTube API. So if I put into the YouTube API, and if you go into the API call, basically, and you will have somewhere examples, like let's say I'm using Python related code, and the Python so something like video upload or something like that. You will find out some option, like let's say video insert or something. You'll have some example. So now what we are actually doing is we are hitting this particular so this Python code, and we are hitting the API of YouTube, and then we are actually trying to upload the video. I am actually trying to upload the video in the backend. So basically, right? So that is how actually the today's that is where the most of the people now trying to do in the backend. Okay, so everything is not UI. So UI is something the user uses. That's okay. But yeah, so but everything in the backend happens over the API. Like let's say you're trying to purchase a product, and that particular guy actually redirects you to some payment gateway. Okay, so in like let's say that product whatever you're buying, that guy is actually trying to talk to and another guy, which is the third party gateway kind of thing. So over the API, okay, they cannot open any UI because it's an application contacting another application. So that majorly goes with API. Okay, so the usually you need to understand here is there are two ways of doing the things. Okay, so when it comes to the cloud-based or web-based application, so the content is going to be either it is a UI, you see that with your own eyes because it's a because it's a UI, or else it can be an API also. So API is something like a command line, you understand that way. Graphical versus command line. Like Linux, it's a command line. Windows is a graphical. So you just compare that way, UI versus command line. You're doing the same thing, right? So end of the day, what all the Windows is doing, you're also doing the same thing inside your Linux now. You already realize that, right? So over the command line also you can do that, isn't it? So the same way, okay, so API and UI will be there, and in the backend, a lot of APIs only will be used. Only when it comes to the user, the UI happens. Okay, I'll anyhow explain that again a bit later. Now, usually you are going to have the web content, basically whatever you see, it's actually going to be a website versus web application. There are two things here. So one, it's a website, it can be a website, or it can be a web application. So there's a slight difference between them. There's a slight difference between them. So what is a website? Website is a static content. Okay, like you open google.com, so basically every one of us see the same landing page, right? So google.com, so basically whatever the content they keep it. So sometimes they change the logo, that's also okay, but this always remains same. You open, I open, everyone opens, it's the same thing, right? It's a Google landing pages. Or you try to open like let's say mail.google.com. Okay, so you open the Google landing page or gmail.com. So some landing page will be there. So when it comes to the landing page, so this is a landing page of gmail.com, it always remains same. It's always remains same. So there is no difference at all. Basically, you open, I open. This is static content. You open Wikipedia. I mean, you see the content, I see the content. It's all same. Okay. So unless until in the backend they manually change the content. Okay, so somehow they change the content, it always remains same. Based on like I logged in, it will not show me a separate content. You logged in, it will not show you a separate content. So basically it's all same content, like news web pages, any kind of blogging, or so, or technically the newspapers or news kind of websites, the content is always remains same. Content always remains same. Okay, that's static websites. Those are static websites. Okay, so but whereas applications is there, so that's a website. Earlier was a website. Now if I open facebook.com, I see my content. I open gmail.com, I see my emails. Amazon, if I open, I see my preferences, basically Twitter, my account, LinkedIn, my account. I open YouTube, I'll get my preferences basically. So might be some content is common, but the remaining things might be changing here. Okay, so that's where the application business comes into picture. So the content changes here. Okay, the content changes based on the scenarios. Okay, so scenarios is one thing, like you logged in, something like your previous searches. Okay, so certain scenarios your okay, your application content is going to change here. Okay, so that is where this is called as a web application. So now your can be a website or web application. Okay, which you are hosting is a quite important.
Is your screen is shared?
Yeah, it is shared. Hope others, I think from my side it is showing okay. I changed a couple of pages, right? So that means at least switch from websites, web applications. Yeah, you can see it. All right. Thank you. So yeah, so that's how you generally will be having a categorization basically. So you're having a static content, and you're having a dynamic content. Dynamic content is web application, you call it as, and so static content is basically like a pure plain HTML pages. Okay, so but how do you get your web content in the modern application? So today's applications, whatever you are using basically, so how are you getting this kind of it's mostly web application. It will not be a website. A website is, you will not have any work if it is a website kind of thing. As a DevOps guy, mostly you will not go into a website area. You will be going always into you'll be landing 99% into web application area. Okay, so because in the agile, basically they do the development is the applications. Okay, So websites development is also can be a part of that, but basically that actually looks like this basically, or like looks like this. Web application looks like this. So the web server will be there. So and the web server shows the content, but actually gets the content from the application servers in the backend. There are some servers which runs in the background, and those servers it contacts and grabs the content. Okay, and that application servers also will talk to some databases and grab some information and provide it. Like let's say you open gmail.com, it's a static web page. Okay, or you open gmail.com, so usually you'll see the same thing, right? You see, I see certain things are common. So you see this, so certain things are common here. Okay, so the inbox or whatever it is, or compose button, search button, so some settings button, so some calendar, all these remains same. Okay, so but the content is a difference here. Okay, content is a different here. So that's how so the web application server is going to grab the content from the database, and so gives in a format that web server understand. The web server is actually projecting on the screen. Web server is actually projecting you on the screen. This is how it is happening. Okay, but whereas if it is a web server, what happens basically, you hit the server and there's only one server, there's no backend, no database, nothing. Okay, you hit the content, I mean you hit the server and you get the response back. Okay, that's it, nothing more than that. Okay, so that's how there is a difference between web application and web server. Web server, you hit the machine and you get the response, that's it, but you don't have any dynamic content involved in that. But whereas if it's an application involved, so some business logic. So like let's say you take a Gmail, so the Gmail business logic can be what? So the Gmail business logic can be, so which I mean one application can be there, so which authenticates your which kind of authenticates your user ID password. So that is one application, login service you can call it as. So probably one service goes and fetches your emails. Okay, so probably some mail fetcher or something like that. So probably some component will be there, some theme component. So probably I can change my themes, right? When I log in, immediately my theme also has to change. So it has to go to my profile somewhere in some other database. So probably they might use different databases also. So one database they might not use it, because the mailing store emails, one one database is much better. Storing username and passwords, that's one database is better. They might use different databases in the backend. Okay, so they contact multiple databases in the backend. Okay, so my theme service probably can go and fetch my so my theme basically. So probably some emails I stored in a draft. That's not really a transaction you made it, because draft is something which is temporary, right? So that goes into some caching servers, so caching databases, and fetch that particular draft. Draft is a kind of a tricky part actually, right? It should not never store in the database in the backend. Why? Because it's not a completed transaction. So if you send, then it goes into the send, then the transaction. You take cart actually. You take cart services in any kind of a shopping website. Basically, you add to a cart, the transaction is not completed. You just carted it. Okay, that's it, right? So, but it has to store on your name. But tricky part is it cannot store in the database. So that's where the caching come into picture. Okay, some caching things. All right. So like this, so the business applications will be there. The business related applications, a bank application, like let's say it goes and touches the mainframe in the backend. So like let's say if it's a bank, typically it's a mainframe. Most of the banks uses still using mainframes. Like let's say you take a typical organization, so they're still using mainframe. And when the mainframe come into picture, okay, so but we need to hit the mainframe, right? So the web application and one application will be there hitting the mainframe and contacting your mainframe and getting the details. So that's one application does, right? So that's how generally any business application works. Like let's say you ask for a statement. For statement, probably you don't hit the mainframe, because hitting every mainframe is a very costly thing, by the way. Okay, mainframe is still running in the companies, but still it's a very costly service. No one dares to touch them even. Okay, but today's business is around offloading mainframe is a very serious business actually. If someone says that we offload your mainframe mainframe work, then that's a super project. It's a very super project, I would say. Okay, so MongoDB in their official documentation, they'll say that we'll offload the mainframe with some approaches. Okay, So that's where they come up with some architecture. This is what we do, this is what we do, and they try to provide some case studies so that, because to the mainframe. So actually there is a saying that, so the 25% of the IT expenses will directly go to the mainframe. Okay, that much costly it is. Okay, so too costly. For every transaction also they charge it. They call it as MIPS or something is there. So they will charge even for every transaction also. Till IBM, the highest revenue comes from mainframe only. Okay, so that much amount companies are paying still to IBM. Not only like it's one-time purchase, every month they have to pay to them. Okay, and no one dares to touch that machine because who wrote in the mainframe. So those guys are already retired also might be. So no one dares to touch that particular mainframe. So that's where offloading mainframe is one of the projects. So people are kind of development or kind of work is actually going on around that. So yeah, I would say yeah, that's also one of the business. Okay, let's come back to the point. Okay, so it depends upon the business, basically nature of your business. These business applications will be there, and hitting the backend components like databases or some other third-party components, but these will fetch the information and provide it to the web server. Okay, so the web is only to so kind of show it in a HTML format. The content, whatever it fetches, it just shows in that particular format. That's it, but nothing more than that web server will do in the web application. Okay, so this is how you're going to have so that's how we are going to have a real-time application. So that's where the web server also, previously it used to be a plain HTML web pages. Now people are actually going in more into like Angular and React JS kind of things, because they have to they comes up with a much integrating options with the application server. Okay, so this is how you will be having. So coming back to the point, website versus web application, you should know the difference. Website means you're getting a static content. Web application means it's a dynamic content. The content changes based on the scenario. All right, so this is how you're going to have a application which you're seeing actually as a cloud, whatever we're talking about, right? So all the applications, whatever you see today is based on this web server versus web application. And usually you see three tiers, right? So here it is one layer, this is one layer, another layer. So we generally call it as a three-tier architecture. A very common word which we generally use, it's a three-tier architecture. Okay, you will be having a web layer, you'll be having a middleware. So that means middleware means really not a middleware software. It's running in between. So that's where you call it as middleware. Generally, it's a common terminology. Like people coming from Unix background still call the Linux machines as Unix box. I mean, their intention is still same. So you connect to the machine over the command line, as simple as that. As a box. Okay, so they still call it as Unix box. Okay, so yeah, something like that. So you still call it as a middleware, but it's really not using any kind of a middleware in between. Okay, so yeah, coming to the next thing. So it's a three-tier architecture basically. You have three layers majorly. Whatever you have, you categorize them into three. So one is the web content. How do you solve your web content? And in between, whatever you have is what you have is a business logic. Okay, and the third one is to store the data, databases and all. You're going to have this much, right? So let's talk about one by one layer, setting up those one by one layer. But yeah, so and while talking about setting up one by one layer, so the web server plays a key role actually here, because this is the one actually we actually going to expose to the outside world. Okay, because everyone hits this web server only, so we have to follow some standards and we'll be having some configurations around here. So let's go and try to talk about them as well. But before to that, any questions? Yeah. All right, so the next thing is going to be so the web server, and we're going to set up these particular certain things inside the web server. Okay, so now we can ask the Google, like, so famous web servers. Okay, so what are the famous web servers which are available? The first one which stands here is Apache web server. No doubt in that, Apache is still widely used, but Nginx is also a kind of a competitor, and modern applications, most of the people are using Nginx. The old school guys are still using Apache web server, and Nginx is a little powerful and little faster than Apache, we would say. So that's where nowadays, so most of the people prefer to go with Nginx than HTTP. But at the end of the day, both does the same thing. No doubt in that. You can still do the same thing. Okay. So that's where even our project also have Nginx. So that's where I want to introduce you Nginx only in the introduction as well. So we'll talk about Nginx and how do you set up an Nginx server, how do you set up the different things inside Nginx server. Okay, so we'll talk about that now. So how do you set up a website basically? Okay, first of all you require a server. Okay, so let me go and take the server. Okay, the other day I think I stopped the server, so let me terminate the instance. So let me create a new one. So you know how to create it. So we already talked about launch instance, and you know how to grab my image. So I can just use that. So you can use normal image as well, but using my image will give you some flexibility later, but not today. But later you will see it as a useful one in certain scenarios. I'll talk about that. And also another thing, quite important thing, I'm not sure that you observed or not. So actually I didn't actually, so previous the state of this instance was a stopped state. Okay, I didn't stop this instance, by the way. It automatically got stopped. Okay, so because just to keep cost in mind, because every day I mentioned that you'll be looking into your billing dashboard as well, right? Every day you look into your billing dashboard, you should not see any kind of surprises. Basically your bill always should be in a very minimal one. Okay, so hardly in the second month and the third month you'll see $4 to $5 at the max. Okay, per month, that much only. It should not go anything beyond that. Okay, so that's a quite important thing we have to understand. Okay, so yeah, so on that particular perspective, so so if you I mean usually you'll forget some things. Okay, so you worked on something and you moved on to something, you'll forget to stop the servers, right? So that's where your servers should not get built automatically. And so there is some scripts which runs inside my image which will shut down automatically the system, which will save you the cost. Otherwise, now if I don't stop this particular server, by this time I almost ran 48 hours unnecessarily. I forget the things. Okay, because after the class session I'll jump onto other things, I might literally forget it. Okay, so just to avoid that particular billing, I just made my own script. I just embedding that particular one into the image as well, so it might be helpful for you as well. Okay, so but there are options to disable that as well, so I'll talk about that later. But for now, just keep in mind your machines will get shut down automatically if it is not logged into that, if you didn't logged into that machine for 59 minutes. So that means 60 minutes actually, the calculation. If you didn't log into the machine for 60 minutes, then automatically the system will get shut down automatically. Logged in. Okay, you might be using outside of the server, like you're hitting the web service and you kind of using it. That's not been calculated. If you didn't logged into the server over SSH in the last 59 minutes, we'll shut down the machine on the 60th minute. Okay, that's how I just designed it. All right, so just to save the cost, nothing more. Now come back to the launch instance. So you know how to find out my AMI. DevOps -is. So here you got it. Click on select, and T2 micro is fine. You can still use that because that's a free one which is available. You know to change here. So add storage. So you know to change anything here. So go with the add tags. So here also you know to change anything. Configure security group. Security group is nothing but a firewall we discussed on the other day. So we created one firewall, allow all, isn't it? So we just allowed all the port ranges from everywhere. We just allowed this way. Okay. Last session we discussed about this. Launch and key pair. It's not really needed. So proceed without a key pair. And the new instance is actually coming up.
Raghu, sorry to interrupt. I have a small question. Ask about that 60 minutes one. So is it something to do with EC2 scheduler?
No. It's inside the server only.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, inside the image it is coming up.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So the machine came to running. So probably I'm ready to connect to that. So I will just choose this. So SSH, you know how to connect. Like CentOS is the one which we are using now from now on. No more root user. Root user can still use, but yeah, it's up to you. So whether we are following the standards or not. Okay. So here you might get a free hand to connect, but in organizations you will not connect as a root user. That also you keep in mind. So now you know the password. DevOps 321. Okay. So I'm able to get into the server. Okay. So if you want to disable the auto shutdown, so there's an option I enabled. So disable auto shutdown is some of the commands actually comes with this image, which is a customized command only for this image. Don't expect this image, these commands to run inside any of the other servers, whatever you launch. So lab auto is something which you'll see it later. Disable auto shutdown. If you run this particular one, so then automatically it will disable the auto shutdown script actually, which is running. As simple as that. Okay, nothing to worry. Okay, so fine. And now in this particular box, I'm going to install Nginx. Okay, sudo yum install nginx and -y. Now, whenever you install some software, always you have to keep in mind what version you have to install, which version you have to install. So now here, I am trying to install Nginx, and the Nginx version which is coming over here is Nginx 1.16. Nginx 1.16. But if I go to the nginx.org, nginx.org, if I'm not wrong, the website. Yeah. So, but if you go there, so what is the latest version? 1.19. So you're behind actually some versions. We are behind some versions. So even if I look into these release notes, nowhere it is actually at least 1.17 was there, which was released sometime in January, but I don't see 1.16. 1.16 is a kind of a year or 2 years backward software. Okay, so now whenever you install some software, always keep in mind which version to install. Now who tells you to use that particular version? Developer. Okay, you don't have any scope of defining your own versions, because who develops the project? Developer develops the project, and while developing they already use certain versions, and those versions they'll be informing us, you know, we should use this particular version, and we'll be using that particular version. So there is no our role to design which version to use, at least around the application. So when it comes to Nginx also, so when it comes to the versioning, basically, so all the 3 layers, whatever you see over there in the web application, so those will be designed by the developer, and the developer only talks about that. Okay, so we don't have any prominence role in that particular area. So they tell, yes, okay, so we developed on this version and we need this version, and we'll be doing on that particular version only. Okay, when it comes to the deployment side, on the server side. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so that's the idea. And the next thing is yeah, so for now it's 1.16 is also okay, unless until we are missing some kind of features in particular. So this version is also okay for now, and I installed it. Sudo system ctl enable nginx. Enable will going to start at the time of reboot. Okay, so start the service automatically at the time of reboot. Okay, so the next one is going to be is start nginx. Start nginx. I'm actually starting the Nginx service. All right, so I just installed it. I just started the Nginx. So Nginx will open a port number, standard port number, sudo netstat, netstat -lntp. Okay, it opens a 80 port. So that means I can hit this server on the browser. I will get a Nginx web page. Okay, I'll get the Nginx web page. So this is how you kind of, you know, install the service. You're getting a default web page. But do we run default web pages? No. Our company, we are going to have some web pages, and we'll be running those particular web pages. Okay, now the next thing is where do I host my web pages? Okay, so cd/usr share nginx html. So this is the location where your so web content should be hosted Okay, so why, I'll talk about that in a later. So sudo rm-rf star. So because this is the content which you are getting out there. Now a star means it removes all the files, by the way. Sudo rm-rf star means it just removes all the content. So probably rather than okay. So now if I go to the browser and try to refresh on the browser, you're not getting anything because there is no content available because you just removed the content. So what I did is sudo rm-rf star. Star means all the files inside that location. So it's all gone. Okay. Now, so I'm going to create one file. So vim index.html. So why? Because it always has to be index.html. And I will say, so hello world. Okay. So just a simple text, 7 quit. And so you cannot save it because you are not a authorized user to write the files in that particular location. So probably I can use sudo. Okay, so 7 quit. Now try to refresh the content, so you get the hello world content. So probably you want to put it in a HTML format. You didn't write in a HTML, so probably some heading h1 and so slash h1. So 7 quit and try to refresh. So you're getting some heading kind of thing. So probably you want it in some center. I think some options are there to make it center, whatever it is. You want to make it underlined, bold. You have certain things out there. Forget about that. So this is how the content will be there. So I know only hello world thing. I just made the content, but the developer will provide a proper content. The developer will provide a proper content. Okay. So we'll be downloading that particular content and installing it and making it running. Just for demonstration purpose, just for the sake of demonstration, I get some content from the internet. Okay, so there are a lot of web pages out will be there. So so HTML5 sample project plus GitHub. In GitHub, you'll find out a hell lot of projects. Okay, so yeah, you can just take some content and you just take that particular content and keep it out there. Now you're getting this file, so just click on code and you're getting a zip file format. Yes, I want this only. Right click, copy link address, and you can paste the content. If you're using putty, right click will help you in pasting it, or if you're using a Mac user guide, you can just directly paste the content as your command V option. Okay, so if you're using putty, right click, okay, no control V, right click on the terminal, will paste whatever you have copied. Okay, so now sudo call -o, I just give that. Now unzip master.zip file, but actually that file is not really a master.zip file, so I think it is redirecting to some other place. I have to give the capital L option also. It has to take to some other place. Yes. Now unzip master.zip file, so you're still getting permission denied. So sudo, you got the files. Okay, so sudo mv html5 of star files to move to current location. Just move to current location. So now you got index.html, some other content, things like that. Now if I go to the browser, just I deployed some web pages. Now try to refresh, so you're getting some content. Okay, so this is a HTML5 based content. Whatever the content it is really doesn't matter to us. I hosted some content, I'm getting the content. That's it, I'm done. Okay, so this is how we generally host a website. Okay. Now certain things before taking any kind of questions also, just one thing here. So why you need to come to this location, and even you created index.html. This guy is also having, if you go to his GitHub web page, there's the index.html page. So why actually this guy is also using the same thing? It's about standards, right? So yeah, so that all standards is defined in the configuration. If I want to go beyond the configuration or beyond the defaults, I want to deviate the standards, I want to come up with my own thing. So then how do you do that is, see, every service will be having a configuration. So why I should come to this location and why the file has to be this file name? So because the configuration is telling me that. If I open the configuration vm/etc nginx and then nginx.conf file, okay, so here you're having something here telling, so you take the content from user share nginx html, it is telling that. You're clearly telling that, okay. And also you kind of tell that, you know, the file can be index.html. It's not configured actually, but you can usually specify that. Nothing is there, right? So nginx.conf file. So here we can usually will have having another option. So it's completely not given the documentation. I mean, some example. You can refer the documentation, and somewhere it also tells that, you know, we should be looking for index.html file. Okay, so change directory, or let me put it in a very non-technical words. So change default index file in Nginx. I just kept in a, you are looking for default index.html file. So I am trying to change the default Nginx page of my web application. Might be it is not index.html, might be something else. So you have to write some word called as index, and like let's say you are making it something like root.html or some other .html. You want to pick up some login.html. Well, you want to put that particular file. So then I think you can use this. Okay, so I think this is a question he's making. Yeah, that's the index is the one basically is a keyword. You also have try file some option around Nginx, but yeah, index is something, yes, correct only. Index is some keyword, so you can specify index.html, or you didn't give that, you know, Nginx by default it knows that it has to pick index.html and it picks that particular index.html. No one tries to really modify that even. Okay, so that also you always keep in mind. Always people follow some standards, and so index.html is quite common word. Now you always need to understand if you are using something around anything, so it's always being configured in the configuration file. If configuration is not there, so that means it is even still picking up some defaults. The service still picks some, the program. Service is nothing but a Nginx. Nginx is nothing but a program, right? So the program loads the defaults. Okay, it's been built with load some defaults. Unless until you override it, it always uses the default one. Okay, so that is how you know, you can host a website and you can get it on the screen. Got it? Any questions? All right. So anything, just do interrupt me. You don't need to wait. Actually, if there is something also, you just stop me. Okay. If it can be answered later, I will hold you and I can answer it later. But yeah, it can be answerable right away. I can just answer that as well. Okay. If anything, just do interrupt me. Don't.
Raghu, like everything you are practicing in CentOS or Putty also we can use for practicing.
No, Putty is a client, right? So Putty is a client. Yeah, is a google.com is a website, Google Chrome is a browser, or Firefox is a browser. Where you open doesn't really matter. CentOS is an operating system running inside your server. So how do you connect to that particular machine is, to connect to a website, you require a web browser. To connect to a server over SSH, you require a SSH client, and Putty is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so let's come to the standards. Do we actually use, have you ever used google.com with some IP address? No, right? So like, let's say if I take the, I'll ask, like, you know, so what is my google.com? So ping Google, or like, let's say there's a server. Let me check in my local system, ping google.com. So this is the IP address I'm getting. So are you ever using the IP address to open google.com? Still changing to google.com, but have you ever used the IP address? No, right? You always type the name. Now, why our web server also? Why do you require to give it a? Why do you need to give it to a a number? Why can't you give it a name? If you want to give a name, so that means you should have a name. That means you should have a domain basically. You should have a domain. Okay. So how do you get a domain? Okay. So let me grab one domain. So there are multiple websites actually which you so which can give you a free websites, and Freenom is the one which gives you a free domain as well. You can get a domain for free. Okay. So you don't have to pay also anything, you can get for free. Okay. So I go to the freenom.com. Just don't do the things here, especially with the Freenom. Don't get the things in hurry. Okay. So do the things very slowly, very slowly. Don't be hurry in clicking. So things will not work. Okay. Now I want to find out a domain here. So first of all, let's log into my Gmail. It's a Google integrated, I think. So yeah. Now I want to go with, so usually any name is your choice. So I always goes with some batch name. Okay. So check the availability. So you don't get .com and all like DevOps p53.com. .com is costly. You have to pay $8 basically. I don't want to use .com. Any domain is fine for me. I usually take any of these extensions. So .tk is something I'm getting. So I will go with get this now. Okay. So done. And you can go with the checkout. So how many months you want it for free? So probably you can choose, so 1 year you can get it for free. I'll just choose only 4 months. Okay, that much is fine for me. And continue. So you're getting like, $0 USD, you know, to pay anything. And then don't go with the registration. I think you can go with this, but yeah, let's give your email address or my email address. So b53gmail.com. Verify my email address. So then one email will be sent to me. And so all I need to do is I need to validate that. So now you got the Freenom email verification. Okay, so just open that. Now it opened and asking you your details. So I will just give my details. Okay, DevOps. So 45. So I'll give some other more information. Let's say. And the file is 45 and city. Okay, you have it here. That's fine. India, and I will choose here. And mobile number, I don't think so. It's mandatory, so I will just ignore that. And so password is asking, so probably some password. Okay. All right, so yeah, your order has been placed. It just take few minutes to get it completed. So yeah, until then I can just go to the Freenom web page. I got my product, right? So it's putting my name also now. And I think you can go with my domains here. If you log in, then you can go to my domains and you will see that domain is active now. Okay, so this domain is active, so that means I can start using this particular domain. Okay, so at least now you're getting like, DNS is not ready. Okay, it takes time. It's a free service, right? It's a free service you're getting. The delays will be there, no doubt. The delays will be there. Okay, but you're getting for free. At least you're saving $10, $5, some amount you're saving. That's okay for now. But I can check whether my domain is really so verified or not by so check domain. Domain checkers will be there in the online domain checkers, domain name search, and I can go for DevOps b53.dk, search for that. is already taken. So that means my domain is actually registered. Okay, so actually not this guy. We will find a domain name search. Yeah, who is you can look for the domain basically, and you put your domain, so it will tell you, it registered in my name, and what all the details I gave on the registration time, 53.pk, and who registered this, like Freenom, all that information will be available actually on the internet. Fire hydrant. Yeah, you see this? It's actually is for sale. No Maven. This guy doesn't record the information yet. At least GoDaddy, if you take a look there, so it's actually saying that. Or else you can also do something like this. dnschecker.org. This is a very beautiful website which you can use, and you can also give DevOps b53.tk is a domain ticket, and here you need to go with NS. Okay, don't confuse. A lot of people come back to me saying that so it's not working, they'll not give NS properly. Okay, first time if you want to check a domain, it's NS and search for that. So most of the regions it's still failing. Okay, it actually checks globally in which regions it is available and not available. In certain regions you see this, it's available, and certain regions it is not available. Now everything you deal with this one is very slow basically. Okay, we had to wait some time, and so we need to basically waste some time here. Okay, we need to wait. Okay, so that end of the day is no value to me, right? Now what I can do is so who is controlling this domain? A Freenom. From Freenom we created a domain, and this domain is still controlled by Freenom. Now what I can do is I can take this particular domain and give it control to Amazon. In the Amazon account, whichever you created, you can do that. Okay, so how do you do that? So there is a service called as Route 53. So the every DNS vendor has an agreement, so anyone's domain can be maintained by anyone. Okay, so that's where we are actually coming here, and now here create a hosted zone. So we have to create a hosted zone. You have to create the hosted zone in the same name. So DevOps b53.tk. Okay, so now create a hosted zone. It creates one hosted zone, and also along with that, it creates some. It gives you some NS records basically. NS means name servers. Okay, so name server is nothing but the name server is a server where actually so you ask for a name, you're actually typing in browser google.com in your local system, it goes to ISP, and ISP have one name server, so they tell you, okay, google.com you are, so okay, this is the IP address like 49 dot something that you have seen on the command line, right? So it actually giving you, so who is, I'm giving ping google.com, but who gave me 142.250.67.78 address? The address was given by the name server. So the same way, so you created a domain and a hosted zone here, and this guy is actually giving some DNS server, name servers basically, who can maintain your domain. You have to take these domains and go to Freenom, go to your account of Freenom, and update your Freenom. Hey Freenom, I'm okay, so I will take this your control. I'll take your domain and take your control to some other guy. Okay, so then they will accept that. That's it, nothing more than that. Let's see. This is a little pain actually. The Freenom, DevOps b50. Okay, fine. So my domains, and I go and click on manage, and so manage Freenom DNS of the option you have on the top. No, not this. Let's go back. You have the management tools, and you have name servers. use a custom name servers. Okay, so just copy one by one from there to here. First one is copied. Second one is also copied. Third one. Finally, the fourth one. And change name servers. You hit it, and all you need to do is you need to wait until the DNS checker detects those particular changes. You updated in the domain free now. Okay, so now the internet should start looking, or should wait until the Amazon, or it syncs until Amazon. If you just click on search, now you're getting everything as freenom.com. It's almost good actually. At least if I compare with the previous last time freenom, so they increased a lot actually. Okay, this much time it's updating in all global regions, never happened. That's okay. Now you wait for that, so it actually updates some DNS record, and again it just takes some time, and it updates. Now start updating to Amazon. You just need to wait for that. Yeah, you see this in one place, it actually synced. You wait for 5-10 minutes, okay, and it syncs in global. Okay, sometimes even it takes 24 hours also, but don't hurry on that particular area. So hurry up will not give you any advantage basically. If we can wait for some more time, so then everything comes under Amazon. Now Amazon can create the records, and okay, so that directly will be available on the internet. So for an example, now I want to go with a record. What is a record? I'll talk about that, and I'll go to my Amazon, and I say that, create a record. So now simple routing, that's fine. Next, define a simple record, and like let's say Nginx dot this one www.google.com, right? www is one record. Okay, so Nginx is one record I'm making. Okay, and I'm making like, so this is an IP address I'm keeping, or another value, some record type, IP address, yes. And what is IP address? I have to bring my server IP address. Let me, oh, I think I have here. So define a simple record, and the name is Nginx, and actually it's an IP address. And you remove this HTTP, this is an IP address, and create the record. Okay, and a record. What is an a record? You're actually giving a name to an IP address that becomes a record address. Okay, so the name you're giving to an address, so that's actually a record. Okay, so create the records. Now your record is created in Amazon. So now let's go and ask internet through dnschecker.org. So let's find out now. Let's find out this one. So where in which regions it is available. It's actually giving the answer. It's actually giving the answer in most of the places. So, but once in certain regions like Amazon didn't got the control from freenom. Freenom should update that. That is being maintained by Amazon. Once the updation happens, okay, then automatically you will see, at least after a few minutes, if you see everywhere, it's the same thing. Now I can go for and put it on the browser side, Nginx. So now I'm getting the web page, at least in my ISP provider has, so took that particular update. Okay, so nginx.devops53.tk. So you got the name, and from that you're getting the website. So clear? Any questions on this? And every one of you create your own domain. So for practicing the sessions, you'll be creating your own domains. Okay, yeah. Any questions? Good. Now again, let's compare the standardization with google.com basically. So you open google.com or any other website, like let's say you take this. So this is actually saying that, so it's not saying any kind of non-secure. It's not saying any kind of non-secure. But if you look into our website, our web page, it actually browser is telling this is a non-secure. So that means the content is the content between my system and server is actually happening on the plain text. If it is happening on the plain text, so there is a high chances of there are high chances of risking. Okay, so there are high chances of a risk actually involved actually there. So that means you can lose your data kind of thing. So all the websites goes and so put this in a secure thing. Okay, so I also want to do the same thing for mine. How do I do that? So I need to get a certificate also we need to purchase, but there are some websites who provide certificate for free of cost, and I'll just go with that. And who is providing me the free certificate is sslforfree.com. sslforfree.com is the website. Okay, so you go here and say that you want a certificate. So what is the name, what is the certificate you want? So DevOps B53.pk. okay, so you want certificate for this guy. Yes, create free certificate. And what is your email? Okay, so you want for this certificate, they're saying it is okay, and click on next. So you want a 90-day certificate or 1-year certificate? 1-year certificate is a paid one, so let's go with 90-day certificate. Okay, next. And so you, before validation will generate, that's fine, just click on next, no worries. And here is a free one, of course, click on next step. All right, and so how do you validate? So okay, I cannot go ahead and get the certificate of each and every guy, right? So I cannot go and get a google.com certificate from this guy. Okay, it's not possible. It should not be possible basically. So we have to validate it. So how do you validate whether you can do a email verification? If you have this email address with you, you can do that. Okay, so but I don't have email server to set up this one, right? So I'll go with the DNS. I have a DNS record available or DNS server available. So all I need to do is I need to create a DNS record. Okay, so the name of this one is, this is going to be the record name. So I'll go to Amazon and I go to the Route 53, create a record, and this one, simple, define simple record. So this is the name, and again choose to this one. And what is the value inside that? The value is given as, you keep this value is what you're telling. Okay, I go there. Sorry. I go there and so update this value. But actually, if you observe their information, so they're telling that to verify a domain, use a CNAME record. It's not a record now. It's actually a CNAME record. Now, what is CNAME basically? You know already a record. A means basically is a name to an IP address, but CNAME is nothing but a name pointing to another name. Okay, it's a CNAME record. So these are the two widely used records actually, which we use around our area. So a record is nothing but a name pointing to an IP address. Now a CNAME record means it's a canonical name, alias name. So you are putting one name pointing to another name and create a record. Create records. Your record is created, but just wait for a minute. Don't be again in a hurry of just going into this guy and accept it. So just wait for a minute, and after a minute, so what you can choose is you can click on next step. After choosing next step, so they provide you a certificate. They validate that CNAME record is there or not. If it is there, that they can validate that okay, you are the domain owner because you created the domain and you are able to create the record. So that means you are a domain owner, and that's where they will say that okay, so this is fine. So just click on next. Okay, so you will say that verify domain. Just wait for a minute and then do that. Don't immediately do that. Okay, so congratulations, your domain has been verified. Perfect. And they'll provide one certificate. I have to take that certificate and I have to keep it inside my server to make it HTTPS. Okay, so they're going to download a zip file. I'm just clicking on download zip file, so I am getting a zip file. Okay, so here are the certificates which I have. So 3 files they provided. Okay, fine. Then I will copy these 3 files into my Linux box. But how do I copy? So you need to copy the files from your local system to Windows box to a Linux box. So how do you do that? So let me show you that. So in that meantime, well, the workspace let it come up, so my Windows box. But until then, I will just go with doing it manually. Basically, I already logged into the server, right? So here, I will just go with the cd or basically sudo vim /etc/etc nginx and then nginx.conf file. So there is already some configuration which is already there, but which is commented it out. Okay, so this is the configuration, so which you are actually doing for HTTPS configuration. So now you are bringing the certificate for making it what? Not a plain content. It's actually should go in a secure content. So that's where HTTPS comes into picture. Okay, HTTP you know, and HTTPS come into picture. Okay, I think the server is already up. My workspace, let it be. Yeah. Now, if I want to copy some file, basically, so how do I do that? Okay, so how do I do that is you can download a software called as WinSCP. Okay, so WinSCP. WinSCP is a software so which can help you in downloading the files from Linux box to your Windows box and also copy the files from Windows box to Linux box. So there is some download. Click on that. Just click on next and install it.
Raghu, which box is this? Are you not trying to upload the file from your local to Unix?
Yeah, because most of the users are Windows guys. I just want to show from Windows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is how you get it. Okay. So you're going to give the host name. So that means again you can just use your SSH credentials and you can connect to this box. Okay. So what is your IP address of your machine? Easy to go to that. Take the IP address and so put it here. So you can just use directly the root so that you can edit any of the file on the system. So otherwise you'll get a limited access. You know that anyhow. So DevOps 321. Just click on login. That's it. Now one thing, so basically we want to copy the files, right? So how do I copy the files? Basically in the system it is actually opening a directory called as /root. On the system, on the Windows box, this is the path actually it is trying to show. Okay, so you should know that. Okay, so now if you want to go to some other path, you click on top, it will ask you which path you want to go and you go into that particular path. So I'll say /etc/nginx. I will say okay, I want to go into here and I want to upload the files here. Okay, so I will just go and download the certificate but the certificate is already downloaded. I don't know. How can I download it again from my account? No, I doubt it. So you can also ask for email, I think, if okay, let me go to the dashboard and I go to the certificates. Will it allow me to download the certificate once again? Download certificate. Yeah, let me log into here. SSL for login. So download the certificate. I'm just downloading in my Windows box also. I downloaded. So now I have to go to here. Actually, I have to go to downloads and let me put the change date. Yeah, so I have an Nginx zip file, so I am taking it and extracting it and so not extracting, copying it and just dragging drop. Basically I just selected this file. Hey, come on, it actually went here, and I just drag and drop here. So it asking to copy, yes, copy it, and the file will be copied. Okay, now this is how you can transfer the files from your Windows box to Linux box using this utility WinSCP. Okay, now yes, in your server you have that particular file now. Okay, so I'll just log into sudo su hyphen cd/etc nginx ls. You have the zip file. Now unzip the file of this one. Okay, you got the files, 3 files you got it. Okay, so what are the files you got it? So ca certificate.crt, ca bundle, and private key. Right, fine. Now I need to edit the configuration. So how do I edit the configuration? So to edit the configuration, so you can do that directly from WinSCP also. I mentioned, right? So either you can use vEditor or directly I told you. So I can show you another way of how do you do that. Okay, so using WinSCP you can do that. Okay, so first of all you have to install an editor which is compatible to edit some Linux files. So that I would prefer to choose VS Code. Okay, so Visual is a very basic one. Visual Studio Code. Okay, so that's where I will you can just go ahead and install this. It's a very basic editor, but we'll go with another editor later. Just a very this also try to install very basic one, a very lightweight one, I would say, comparing with other editors. Has rich modules as well. So just start here. And add these options also. It will be really helpful for you while doing the work. So install. Yeah. Now I'm going to go to the VS Code and you can just try to refresh once. So probably I need to open this particular nginx.configuration file. This is the configuration file I want to modify. So I can just click on edit, and you have an internal editor or edit with you can give. Okay, so edit with you can go for so a VS Code. Okay, so I can go for where is my VS Code? I need to find it out. So where is my VS Code desktop? If I go for Visual Studio Code, I would say, okay, click on. Remember this editor. Okay. Now you open the file. Actually, it opens in the Visual Studio Code. So now, the WinSCP acts as a bridge between your Windows box and the file which is there. Now here, if you see, it's very easy. It's a normal Windows editor. You can easily edit the files. So this way also you can do that. Okay, so now you want to enable this, and the server name I have to enable this certain configuration. So what is the server name I have given? So it's actually going to be nginx.devopsb 53.tk. Okay, so and SSL certificate. So this is the one. So what it is looking for SSL certificate, server.crt file. Okay, where is the CRT file? What is the name of the CRT? So you have certificate.crt. Yes, certificates.crt. So then I have to give certificate.crt. And there is another file it is asking. So which it is a key file. So what is a key file? Also the location, it is actually etc nginx. It is /etc/nginx, and it's also going to be /etc/nginx. And also you have a key file, I think. What is the key file you have here? Private.key only. I think you'll get it as it's a quite common, same names, private.key. Okay, I take that particular key and go here, private.key. Okay, and I don't think so anything else you need to give. So this much is fine. You're just listening on 443 port number, which is a secure port number, and after that you're telling what is your domain name, and you just enable your certificate. Okay, so now save this file, just normal Control S, and now you give cat nginx.conf file. So here you will see that now. You see this is uncommented, and this one, and also like brace also I had to close it. This is also I had to uncomment it. That file uploads now. So cat, now this is also uncommented. So this is another way for you to start with editing the files in Linux also. This is also an easier way. Okay, you can go with any of the approach, but I will prefer to start using vEditor as much as possible. I can do that the same thing without vEditor, without this editor. I can go with directly the vEditor and do that. Okay, so yeah. All right. Now I can go for systemctl restart nginx. I restarted the nginx. Let's start -lntb. So I have now 443 extra port also for nginx side. So previously 80 port, now it is nginx 443 port. So that means I can go ahead and hit this particular server, https://nginx.devopsb53.tk, and you give that, you get the same content but as a secure content, All right, so yeah, your certificate is working fine. If the certificate is wrong, then it will not work. Okay, so you cannot bring any of the certificate and you cannot keep it in any of the server. If the name matches with the certificate, then only it will work. Otherwise it will not work. All right, so that's the idea of enabling the security. Clear? Any questions? Yeah, Nikhil.
Yeah. Is it up to us to just kind of figure out the command for uploading the file?
Yeah, for you, I'll talk about. Yeah, Mac user, I'll talk. Give me a minute, I'll talk about. So, yes, Sailesh.
Raghu, small doubt. How can we know if it is already existed given URL or not? If it is
Already
exist.
Already exist of what? Already exists of what?
If the IP address is already existed, what we are taking, then how can we do it?
No, I didn't got your point actually.
Firstly, when the URL, when you are taking the URL, before you are sending the one IP address now, that
Yes.
IP address is already used by some already member for any other purpose. So we can use that IP address.
So you're saying the IP address The IP address, how someone will be using it, right? So here you got the instance, and you got your own IP address, and you're pointing to that, right? So Amazon provided you this IP address. Now, what is the question there? Like, I don't.
No, this IP address is okay. We are getting, but this IP address we are using in some in the middle so that we can getting this. Hello.
Be clear on the point, Sailesh. You're just stopping somewhere. Just point to the question. Like, what is the confusion, or what is the question or kind of question you're having? Like, bits and pieces will not help me.
Nowadays,
first of all, you understood the concept. You understood the concept of DNS creation. First thing I want to understand that.
I haven't understand that one concept. So
No.
just a small doubt. The IP address only.
No, let me ask you once again. Understand my question. Have you understood the DNS concept? I went ahead and created a record here. You're clear on that. So how it is working? So this name, how it is pointing to this IP address? Did you understand this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now tell me, what is your question then?
I'm asking this one is IP address is there now?
Right. IP address is there.
In this IP address we have. It is created for each and every separate only, or any as in same to the address.
So every time you create a server, you get a separate address.
Every time when we are creating ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఒక ఇప్పుడు ఆల్రెడీ ఒక ఇన్స్టెన్స్ మీకు క్రియేట్ అయి ఉంది సార్ మీకు
No, other people will not understand. No. Let be on English, Sailesh, because other people will not understand. No, I'm just trying to understand what's the confusion there. So I created a server, I got an IP address, I took the IP address, I created a DNS record.
Okay.
I created the server.
When we create other instance ID, we can get the same IP address only, or any different?
It's different, right? That's a fundamental, right? You create every machine, you get a new IP address. How can you point to the same address?
So that for each and every IPv4 address, we have to create every separate DNS.
Yeah, ideally, if that is the way you are working, then yes, you should.
Okay.
Every server will have its own address. Why? 10 servers, you cannot have the same address, right? It doesn't make sense. 10 Sailesh cannot be there. Only one Sailesh. Right? Yeah. So every server has its own identity. Every server has its own address, and it is all different only, not same. Got it?
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, fun.
Yeah, Raghu, can you please show that Win SCP things which are copied files from other? Can you please can you?
So if you will be just opening this particular Win SCP utility, and you will be providing Win SCP. So you open the utility, it will be asking you how do you. Okay, so what is the server you want to connect? So you have to give the IP address.
Okay.
And your username and password. I'm giving the root, the same SSH only it will use in the backend. So it's SSH username and password. You connect to that, it just opens the server and its directory. And wherever you have your file on your Windows box, you can explore your Windows box, and you have to go to the directory wherever you want to copy. So in the previous case, I copied it under
Nginx.
Yeah. So I just went to etc, and I went to Nginx. Okay, so and I just dragged and pasted
Okay,
here.
drag and drop. Okay, drag and drop. Okay.
That's
Okay, I got it. Yeah, thank you. So just to download the software of WinCP, right? WinSCP.
yeah. Copy the files from your Windows to Linux.
Okay.
And anyone, any other questions?
Raghu, like when we are creating that site and we are setting up the SSL certificate and all those things, so it is a one-time activity, right? After that, it should not work. If I'll switch off my server, it should not work again. Like suppose tomorrow I'm navigating to that particular site, it should not work, right? Because I'm switching off the or terminating my
Yeah.
server, right?
You have to update the DNS record, right? And you have to update the certificate. And keep in mind, no one
Sure.
will go into the real time. You'll not stop the servers. So that still is a kind of okay.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are some best practices. Okay, so you cannot, like, let's say if you take google.com, there won't be one server, and that means you cannot actually map a record to the server. Basically, we'll not do the mapping record to the server, but later we'll talk about another approach, like best practices. Step by step we'll move on. Okay, so we'll be mapping a record to some other place basically, and how does it work, and also we'll see that later. But for now, so this is the one. And also if you look into that, so here your website, you are getting this HTTP, which is fine. But if you go here and your HTTP is still there, HTTP guy is still there here. So HTTP, if I like most of the guys, you type google.com, you never bother about you're putting HTTP or HTTPS. It is my responsibility in the backend. So if even though you're coming as a HTTP request, I have to put you in the right track, so which is HTTPS. So that's where the next thing comes into picture, which is a redirection rules. Reverse proxy, probably today the time is not enough, so we'll talk in tomorrow. So that redirect rules is something I have to do. Okay, that means if any a redirection rule, I'll make it. So saying that, okay, if any request coming as HTTP, so forward it to HTTPS. Okay, so how do you do that? So basically, HTTP to HTTPS redirect Nginx. You put that, so you get a lot of answers, and you can just follow one of the document and you can make it. And so here, basically, you're just doing is return 301, and you do this. You just need to add this line. That's it. You just need to add this line in server of listen 80. Okay, I'll go to my Nginx configuration. So in the server default, in this place, actually he's trying to make this, right? So add this line he's saying, okay. So return 301, that means redirect to what? HTTPS of same host. What are the hosts you are keeping? The same host. And what are the URI you're keeping? I mean, basically google.com / is the URI there. You will see more detail in the later sessions, this one. So once we talk about some kind of log aggregation, so we'll talk about Nginx logging. At that time, you will see these options very clearly. Okay, but until then, you just concept is fine. So systemctl restart Nginx. Okay, so now if I go to this HTTP web page, and if I try to refresh now, I'm hitting a refresh button. So it's actually going to HTTPS. You see this? Automatically it went to HTTPS. I didn't give it. Okay, let me open one more site, and I'm making it as not HTTPS. I'm making as HTTP only. Okay, that's HTTP, and I hit enter. So still I'm going to go to HTTPS. So this is how, okay, so any google.com or any facebook.com, you type HTTP, they're taking you to HTTPS using the web server redirection methods. Okay, so the concept is important. So whether the functional line, what the line is doing is a separate thing, but you need to understand the concept. So if any request is coming to HTTPS, you can point to another request, or you can also do something. If any request is coming to this website, if you want to put it to some other website also is fine. Some other website is also fine. In some cases, like a company A has acquired some company B, Now, if anyone hitting company B, so it should be redirected to company A. So that will write some rules accordingly as it did. Okay. So some example I'm just giving. Okay. So the concept is there. So you can redirect, allow the redirection or configure the redirection from one place to another place. I'm just doing is HTTP to HTTPS. Okay. So instead of that particular, so if I make it like, so https://google.com, if I hit my server, that will take to google.com. Okay, that will forward me to google.com. I'll always land up in google.com. Okay, so that's how it's gonna work. Okay, so the concept is, so we'll always try to use a standardization. So we'll never use IPs. We'll always go with the names. The names comes with the DNS. You created some DNS. In DNS, you have two types of records. One is A record and CNAME record. A is nothing but a name to an IP address. A is nothing but a name to an IP address, and CNAME is nothing but a name to a name. One name pointing to another name. Okay, so that's a CNAME record. And after that, you have is we created some DNS records and we created a domain. Just follow that. You create a domain and hand over that to Amazon. Okay, so Amazon will start controlling it. Okay, and after that, so we talked about so how do you get the free certificate as well, ssl-for-free.com. Okay, so try to grab your own certificate after creating your domain, creating your web server. Okay, so go and grab your own certificate and host that particular certificate into that. Okay, so that's what we have done. And finally, the redirection rules. Now, so one last thing. So like, there's a couple of macOS guys. So for your macOS guys, you know to separately install any utility. So because the command line has the capability of dealing with that. So now what you can do is you can go to the files where you have that particular file. So you can do scp nginx.devops.b53.tk .zip file. So this is the file I want to copy. Okay, so copy this file and I want to copy it to somewhere /root @ so probably I'm giving root @ and I'm giving this our IP address. Okay, so where you want to copy : like let's say I want to put it in /tmp. You give etc nginx, it will take you there, or let's say etc/nginx and enter. So it asks for the password, the same setup, like it asks for the password. In my case, it will not ask password. I just did some kind of automation in the backend. That's okay. It asks for the same password. You give the password, and like let's say if I use /tmp and if I use some CentOS user, as a CentOS user, it will copy now. So it asks for the password. You see this same DevOps 321 will work, and you can do that. Okay, so this is how you can do it for Mac machines basically. Yeah, so that's all from my side for today. Okay, so by tomorrow, every one of you creating your own domain, so creating your own server, and so point your domain to that particular Amazon, and after that so try to kind of set up a web server and grab its certificate. Okay, so and okay, put it on the server side and enable the configuration, and yeah, so try to make it work. And that's all from my side for today. Any questions?
Hi, Raghu.
Yes, Sandeep.
Not on a technical side. This video, when we will get it? Actually, by today, end of the day, or it will take some time. So
No.
because this video, you can use it for a reference. So I asked to create our own website and domain things before tomorrow. Yeah,
my general understanding is, so I mean general understanding in the we close by 9 o'clock generally, so 9 to 9 in some time.
Okay.
And it takes approximately half the time, so that means 1.5 hour session. So that means I'll get a video around I will get a video around after 9:45 to 10 in between. I'll be getting a video. Okay. Before 10 I get a video. It will be uploaded by 10 o'clock. Okay, so at the 10 o'clock only it will update. If after 10 I'll get it, like 10:30 is the max time, so you will get a video.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
The simple automation. So it runs every half an hour once. So 10 o'clock if I get the video, it automatically uploads it. If not, I miss that, schedule, then 10:30 is the last time, that is Indian time, you'll get a video. Yeah. 2 hours you keep it, 2 hours or 1.5 hours after the session again, you will mostly find out the video. Yeah, any questions? No questions? Okay. So from today, the videos will be accessed only if you log in with the given Gmail address. Okay, so it will not until now. So you're just able to see that without any authentication kind of thing. It's public, but from now on, it becomes a private video. So that means what all the videos you get it from today, so will be kind of goes into a private access mode. So that means if you log in with the email address whichever you given to us, if you log in with that email only, it will work. If you have multiple Gmails configured in your browser, just to cross check, whether you're using the right account. If you use the right account, then it will work. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all from my side for today. Okay, so hope every one of you got the Slack access. Do cross check with your accounts. You should be having a Slack invite with you. Okay, so I told you, and also there is a video which I dropped on the email to how to register with the Slack as well. So you can, yeah, take a look on that as well. Anyone? Any other questions? Okay, all right. So no questions. We'll meet in tomorrow's session and see you in tomorrow. Okay, anything? You can start reaching me or Slack as well. Okay, thank you. See you on tomorrow's session. Bye.
Thank you, Raghu.